Hello, hello. Hi guys, surprise, I'm here. The puppies are officially down for their midday nap today. Um, we had a very early morning, but thought I would jump on here before starting the rest of my errands. I apologize if you hear beeping in the background. I'm just finishing up my last bit of laundry for the day because we had some surprises to take care of this morning. Thankfully, I'm happy to report that everyone's diet and bowel systems are good as far as puppies go. For those of you hopping on to my channel, hello. This is the Haunting Hour. My name is Haunted Goose or Maru, depending. Some of you guys are sweet enough to call me Mama Goose, which is very sweet. I think because I keep talking about my fur babies, so you guys have adopted my mom role, which I'm super flattered by. I've always kind of seen myself, even in my friend group, as Mama Bear, so I'm very honored that you guys look at me as the maternal figure of your artist journey. I hope to guide you well. So how you guys doing today? I hope everyone is having a happy Thursday or Friday. Happy Friday for anyone who's finally reached that goal in their week. It's a little crazy over here, opening up for the weekend. We are successfully on um, day 3 of our foster journey, which I'm super excited about. We've finally helped baby girl with her eating aggression. We've it's always like, of course, more than 3 days. It's gonna take a while, but we're making slow and steady progress. But just in case, this is the first time that our puppies have napped together, like really in the same room. So if you guys see me like kind of pause at any point of our painting stuff, just I'll put in the sticky note just to kind of let you guys know. Just because I may be called out within like the hour that we'll be here. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a good week. I'm so happy I got my coffee machine to work because it was not working before, but I finally like um, kind of played with it enough that it's now working. So you can probably hear it in my voice that I'm super caffeinated because I haven't had like a decent cup of coffee for the past 3 days. So I'm wired. I finally slept super good last night, so super happy about that. Also, great news that you guys are going to actually see on my stream um, my first ever painting progress. So, some crazy stuff happened. So, while I was running my errands yesterday, I went to my local library and I was actually checking out one of these babies because I wanted to. I don't know if you guys can see the whole thing, but I was checking out more study material so then I can bring it on here on the stream and kind of go over it with you guys because you guys have been asking me some really awesome questions here on the stream, and I felt like I had to like study up a little bit more just because I felt I wanted to better answer those questions for you guys in the future, especially that you guys had some really great questions as far as like acrylics and gouaches and kind of the difference between that and then color theory, if it was different with digital art or traditional art. And to tell you the truth, it was one of those things where I never really even thought of questions like that. So I thought it my duty to go to my local library and kind of read up on um, some color theory stuff, some painting techniques that, um, unfortunately, like at least on the internet, there's so much information that I felt like at least getting a condensed book of exactly what I wanted, which I thankfully found, So I'll just kind of like be going over that and kind of comparing it to some of the other stuff I studied along the lines. But long story short, is when I went to check out this book, one of the librarians approached me and was like, "Oh, you're an artist. We're actually want some local art posted like on our library wall, and I'd love to look at your portfolio." And she saw some of my portfolio stuff and picked out one of the pieces I was kind of starting. I kind of tell you the truth, that piece was like I think I left it in the dustbin for uh, like a good 5 months. Like I haven't touched it since we lived in like North Carolina, but I still had a lot of the concept sketches and color stuff. And she picked that one out and said like, "Oh, when you finish with this piece, we'd love to kind of take it up with." The curators that are here, and we'd love to like hang it if that's something that you're interested in, which is crazy because that's something that's never really happened to me before. I've never had to like, I didn't even have like a portfolio. I just had kind of like pictures and folders. I'm naturally very like I'm a stickler when it comes to organizing things, so thankfully I didn't have it mixed with all of my dank memes, because that's probably like what she would see if she were like to open my phone into like my other parts. But I'm super excited, so I thought it would be a treat to kind of show you guys, I guess, like my process, like while I do that, because in my ambitious fashion, I'm going to do the piece in gouache. I'm going to attempt to do it in gouache, which I'm nervous about, but might as well. So yeah, that's gonna be something excited to see on the channel. But yes, definitely let me know though, just because I know I don't want to divide my audience, because I know some of you guys are interested in the traditional, and then there's others that are interested more in the digital. So what I can do with the new schedule is I can do days that are digital and then days that are traditional, and we can kind of split it up so then no one feels like they're left behind on their art journey, because I'm getting some pretty awesome responses, like as far as people going out and trying traditional stuff, but then there's also traditional artists that are dabbling into digital and seeing what that's about. So I don't want to leave anybody behind, and so what I'm thinking of for next week is to split up the schedule between digital and traditional. And if it's, in the future, if you guys want to like lean towards one or the other, we can just take it from there. But yeah, so today it's part 3 of this 3-day, I guess, journey on the stream, where day 1 we did watercolor, day 2 we did jelly gouache, and today is acrylic gouache, which is nerve wracking because, to tell you the truth, the only time I um, used acrylic gouache was literally to test out um, basically like this pigment right here, and that's the first time I used it. So literally when I swatched like this bad boy, and that's it. That's my one and only attempt when I took all these notes. Um, Definitely, probably just because these are like my color theory notes so far. I got the book like, and immediately when I came home, I started like jotting down notes. This is only like notes from, I think, like page, like literally like 4 pages of the book. So it's definitely, and that's like me like just taking quick notes and stuff. So that's something to look forward to. But I'll probably, since I have this big project, I'll probably leave that for another time. Unless it's something that you guys like are really curious about. I apparently I did not see. This is where um, a lot of uh, my art education was really lacking, because it was the first time I even heard about like additive colors, subtractive. I had no idea. Like I knew about primary colors, but apparently there's different types of primary colors. Like there's ones that are like for reflective light. There's others like for that exists like in the color prism. So basically, printers use like one type of color wheel, while digital art and then artistic mediums, like in the real life, use others. I had no idea. So it's a definitely good read so far. Mind you, I can't make any judgment just because like I'm literally a day into reading it, so I can't make any. But what I love is that it kind of talks about. Oh, okay, so this is kind of what we were talking about at least last stream, where acrylic gouache, it's pretty water resistant when when it's dry. So I'm picking up a little bit of color, um, but it's because I'm a cheapo. So by the end of it, I want to use every color and at every point, and hopefully, if I break it down or warm it up or something, it'll break apart. But I'm honestly stalling. I'm so nervous. See, like half of this me being on the stream is just getting over my nerves. So, ooh. But yeah, you can probably see like the dry pieces and stuff like that just because it's super pigmented. If this is your first time on the stream, I kind of want to go over some of like the things that we talked about on last stream in case, and also if you guys have any questions, like be free to ask them in the chat box or just to say hello because I always love talking to you guys while I do this. It calms me down. um, but basically, last stream we talked about how watercolor is transparent, it breaks down in water very easily. Acrylic gouache or gouache by itself is basically a more pigmented watercolor by it's more complicated than that, but we'll just go for that. And then kind of acrylic gouache has basically acrylic polymer, which is a chemical that makes it more water resistant because essentially it's kind of like plastic. So what I did with my swatches, which is basically like color, just like putting down color on the paper just to see how it reacts. You can kind of see where the watercolor is more transparent. And then as we get into acrylic, this was like just acrylic paint I had that was extra. You can see more of the strokes. It dried very quickly, and even with the jelly gouache that we did yesterday, that's kind of one of the notes that I had where it just dried much more quickly, and also I didn't have to use as much color just because of how pigmented it is, so that it had like the actual color that picked up as soon as it dried, and that I could layer it easier. So if you can see, it's kind of like it dried in one piece compared to like the watercolor that I did kind of the similar strokes, but where it looks very separated and almost murky. So, or like blotchy. Blotchy is like a better word. So yeah, so that's like some differences that we can see. Um, but yeah, I'll probably lift up my mic because I'm so nervous. Anytime I try something new, that I just keep babbling on, and you can probably hear it in my voice. So I'll probably lift up the mic for the first couple of things just so that I don't stall anymore. So yeah, lifting up the mic. If you guys have any questions, just be free to holler in the chat, okay? Okay, so at least I'll teach you guys like what I kind of goofed on the palette. So I forgot when I did this one in the corner, it was like with the watercolor on the first. So a little bit like picked up on my brush. When that happens, like don't freak out. But it's a good measure to not only wipe it clean, so don't wet it just yet. Try and push the brush, especially it's kind of forgiving because it's in a flat brush. Try and push it against, like, let's say, like your towel or like kind of what you use to like use your brushes first and then wet it because what ends up happening if you wet it and then try and clean it is that it just becomes more murky instead of it being like kind of an isolated incident when it comes to paint. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at it in the camera and look how pretty, guys. Wow, that is pigmented. Whoa. And it's so funny because I hardly use, like, I think I use like a dot of it like there. But wow, what a difference. Sorry, I'm like looking at it on camera and I'm just like, geez, that's so different. Um, but yeah, when that happens, and then just use, so then, like, kind of you don't repeat the mistake, I guess. Like, so then, because it'll mix pretty easily. That's why, like, I recommend using something plasticky like that because I've used paper plates in the past and it kind of, I don't know what happened where it like ripped. Like it's kind of like when you use it multiple times, it kind of rips. So I'm kind of the type of person, I don't like to be wasteful. I kind of like to recycle my things. I know there's a lot of people out there who even recommended palettes that have the paper on top, so it's like a recyclable, like rip-off palette. So you kind of put it on, it almost looks like tracing paper that's like on the actual palette, and then you can like rip it and stuff. Um, but yeah, really whatever works. But when you have something like that, just wipe your brush first and then go and dip it in your paint. Or I'm sorry, in your water, and then you can clean it so then it doesn't get too messy. So I'm just gonna go in here. I'm not adding any more paint because I'm pretty happy with the consistency. I kind of like it where it's like darker and then it just goes lighter like that naturally. So what I'm gonna do is kind of uh, fix the strokes a little bit so then it's more consistent, especially that from what I've seen with acrylic gouache, it dries matte, so then you don't see the strokes. But I'm just gonna kind of help it out and kind of go um, with like my brush and stuff to like kind of push it in a direction to like where it looks a little bit more consistent. And then with a smaller brush, I'm just gonna go and try and push the color a little bit more to the edges and before adding any more paint. So then I don't have like a clumpy bits. I try and make it look flat. So let's see if we can do that. Okay, so with this brush, I'm just trying to be very careful, and anytime like I wet it or dry it, especially it's one of my older brushes that it like, I don't know if you guys can see where it's kind of like thistly, like there on the side, but I try and be very careful to not get it too close to like where I want cleaner lines. So I'm kind of using it to push the paint down instead of up because it's a little bit on the unpredictable side. I know definitely like after, probably because I did get newer ones, but I wanted to wait to see uh, how much of the pigment and stuff goes into the brushes before using my newer ones because I've never used acrylic wash before, so I kind of wanted to like experiment with cleaning methods with these before putting my new brushes into um, like an abusive like cleaning uh, like test like over and over again. So I might as well just do it with my newer ones. I mean, with my older ones because sometimes. Okay, let's see if. Oh, sorry. Wait, actually, that was the darker one. So we're gonna go in now with. Because I kind of like to try a little bit of everything. Like I like to use different soaps and hot water and all that jazz before before I use newer ones, just because at least I know kind of what works with taking out, especially with acrylic wash that's so pigmented. Um, it's kind of not like watercolor, where watercolor it's kind of like, well, if a little bit of blue gets in here, or it doesn't look too bad. But from the looks of this, very pigmented, so kind of want to do something that works before. So just filling in the colors here, making sure that it blending okay. Okay, so I read that since acrylic gouache is very opaque and has a lot of pigment, that I shouldn't be worried about layering, but I still have like a watercolor brain, so I'm just like, oh my gosh, don't go in the lines. But what I'm gonna do is kind of get over that and kind of go over my brush to make it more consistent. So since gouache or acrylic gouache doesn't, have that problem where it dries very pigmented, I'm just gonna go ahead and erase my watercolor habit of trying to like stick in the lines like so much. So we're gonna like test it out, like test out if it's like all that pigmented to like where even if I go in with a little bit of blue, it won't mix. So yeah, we'll try it out. Okay, so I'm just gonna let this dry just a little bit before going in, just because some of like the water is crumbling here on top, especially since we used like a lighter color. So I'm just gonna let that dry a little bit. I don't know, I see it and I'm like, oh, how cute that it's like white. I guess because it's like darker, so it's almost like that white is like popping out a little bit more, which I like. So I'm like questioning like the palette, but uh, I like there's part of me I want to stay consistent with it, but it looks so cute. That's like looks more like a cloud, I guess. Eh. I'll wait on making a decision on that. I'm probably just gonna go right ahead and start outlining this bad boy just because it should be bone dry by now. Um, so I haven't used this in a while. I'm gonna see if it's still good. It's like my Prismacolor pen, which like I use to outline one of my. Let me see if I have it. I actually like recently posted this one, but I used it to outline this bad boy. And it was still good. So, um, but what I like about it is like how thin it is, and then if you ever want to just like make a little bit more of like an outline. It layers like pretty perfectly, and especially that I have shaky hands, having a good marker that or a good outlining pen really helps. I found that going thinner and then going over it again rather than um, having just a thicker pen. So I range from, I have like a .005 for outlining, and then for my bigger pieces, I have 0.2. I think at least I've used them both. I think I want to say I drew one thing like where the character had tattoos, and so when you draw tattoos, it helps when the uh, tattoos outline is thinner than the outline of the body, just so then you can distinguish it a little bit more. But I'm gonna go and see if this bad boy, does it just needs, yeah, we're looking good. So let's see how it works. So if anytime you have, you're working on, let's say like a bigger piece and stuff, a good tip is to have a cardboard or a piece of paper, something to cover, because the natural friction of your hand moving and also your natural body heat, it's going to rub up, just the friction is going to rub up and then lift, like, let's say the paint or pencil, especially for all my graphite users out there. Definitely a very helpful hint. Yeah, I get real quiet when it comes to like outlining because I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like for me, this is the point where if any of you guys have seen makeup tutorials, you know, like how makeup gurus, they always go off camera to do their eyebrows or stuff like that. For me, that's outlining. I get real quiet real fast. Also, I think I have like a white gel pen. Do I? Sometimes I like to go in and fix some of the parts that I done goofed. I know I have it here somewhere. I know I have one of like my bigger like paint pens, but well, I I do not see, but I did find glitter, which is always a good find. It's so funny because I got it. I got that glitter because when I was teaching uh, my 3-year-olds, like about painting and stuff like that, I was terrified to use glitter because I'm like, oh my gosh, the parents are gonna hate me. Like, and so I had like this whole meeting. I'm telling you, being a teacher, it's like you gotta have meetings about everything. And I told the parents, I'm like, hey, like, you know, I don't have to use it, but I have this supplies and stuff. And the moms were so like, she's like, oh my gosh, where did you buy them? I love glitter, blah, 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 but I can never use it at home. And, you know, I was actually kind of surprised because I thought they were going to be like, oh, heck no, like, don't put this glitter near my child. But no, they were like super excited because we made like snowmen and snowflakes and stuff like that, and the glitter simulated like glittering snow and stuff, and we made like little like gingerbread houses, but like where like we basically pasted like popsicle sticks like onto. It was very cute. Let's just say like those kids when they came to my class, they had all old it was so cute. They wore it because I told the parents, I'm like, it's gonna get messy, so like bring them in, you know, like old T-shirts or stuff like that. And the moms were so cute. I guess because they all went shopping at the same time or something. They came in with little smocks, like little baby smocks, and oh my gosh, they did. One of them, it was pretty clever. They brought, you know, like those little raincoats, like that you get. It looked like he was gonna go to SeaWorld or, um, like an amusement park where he just wore this like little raincoat. It did. It got pretty crazy though. There was one project one teacher did that I'm like, oh, that's such a great idea. Where this was for the older kids. I could never like teach this to like 3-year-olds, but where they made snow globes out of mason jars. That was adorable. I think that was like probably one of my favorite projects with like glitter that I've seen. There's some like really creative stuff out there. I cannot find the white pen, so when I do, I'll probably it's just in. I'm tempted to put glitter now. What do you guys think? Does glitter make everything better? Wait, is the song talking about glitter? Oh my gosh. It is. It's talking about glitter and gold. It's pretty funny. Accuracy 10 out of 10. Okay, let's look at the time. It is 10:04. Oh, okay. Wait, we still got like 20 minutes. So I want to just RIP this little raindrop. I did it dirty. I really did. Poor thing. I've been trying to like fix it for the past couple of days, and it's just, for those of you that didn't catch the first stream, it's that I, when I went to do the raindrop, it like bled kind of into the background, so there's just this random blotch of darkness. Which honestly like sums up this whole year. Random blotch of darkness. So I'm just going in, kind of filling in. I kind of want to, I'm testing out if drying okay, but I want it to be a little bit more. So if you see that it's like kind of curling up like that, I'm sad to say that it's just a natural part of using paint on an object that is not supposed to have paint. So this experiment was basically for me to test out which sketches, um, uh, so like which paint I can use for my thumbnails or kind of like my ideas, because this book I've kind of dedicated more recently to my studies because it's like big enough where I can write notes, and I can't carry it with me everywhere. So it's just gonna be like my study manual, like while I'm at home. And I have smaller sketchbooks for like my pieces and stuff because my pieces tend to be on like smaller scale. But I like to test out different products to see which one is like which paint I can use on my pieces and then which I can just kind of play around with and experiment. And then I can use for my studies to kind of plan out my colors. Digital has worked pretty well, but I'm trying to improve like my actual technique on what to do. So, yeah, that's what this book is kind of going to be for me in my studies. So I'm trying to experiment to see which paper doesn't, or like which paint product doesn't curl up so much and kind of gets the point across before I use more expensive paper, like watercolor paper. Um, but yeah, if you do see this in your work, it's not your fault. For the longest time, I would use watercolor on regular computer paper and think that I was an awful artist and that I could never get my mixes right. And it wasn't until I thankfully came across a YouTuber that kind of gave really good tips and tricks on what kinds of color. So I originally went into the video thinking like, oh, maybe if I change my paints or which paints should I invest in and blah blah blah. But lo and behold, it wasn't the paints, it was that I was using the wrong type of paper. So, fast forward a couple years later, um, now I just kind of want to experiment to see what I can get away with as far as my studies go before using. Even though I know they do have like watercolor sketchbooks, but for whatever reason, like anytime I get my hands on watercolor paper, it's either too big or too small. Like it's not the size that I want as far as, and or it's like one of those like flippy ones where you like flip to the front, and for whatever reason I like book like to turn because when I teach, it's kind of in a reading book format where it goes from right to left or left to right rather than up and down. So, especially I teach online a lot of the times. So, like as you can see from my camera, um, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry it was pointed. I think because it kind of adjusted. Is that better? I'm sure like a lot of you are like a sigh of relief right now. I apologize. We're learning. I apologize. It was really slanted over there, huh? Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Thank you guys for your patience. Oh yeah. Oh my bad. Oh yeah, so like where I teach and stuff, it's called Wisant. So it's basically like a tutoring service. Um the thing is that basically I'm tutoring a specific student that she I taught her in like North Carolina. Um, so I basically opened my hours for her, just because I had her as a student in an art studio, and it's kind of like uh, she was making really good progress and stuff like that, and especially in school. So the mom kind of asked me, even though like I moved and stuff, to kind of keep up like at least once a week with her studies, just to keep her on track, especially with everything with COVID. It's kind of like all the creative classes kind of. But you most likely won't be able to like book me on something like that. If you guys are interested, oh wow, I just didn't think that you guys would be interested at all. Um, like one-on-one lessons online, that's something probably I'll do like more forward. I was thinking of opening a Patreon where like that would be one of like the options. So it's kind of where um you would have the option of either working on a piece together. So it's kind of like you already had an idea and we're like I guess like collabing together like to work on it, or where I have like a already pre-made lesson. I have a couple of those like on like kind of from uh, when I worked at in Florida and then also in North Carolina. Like it's kind of there's some that because I used to be a behavioral therapist too, and then I included art into it. So there's some that are more, I guess, therapeutic to like where they're more leaning towards like subjects of self-expression or like things that you guys have always wanted to draw, and then we kind of go from there. Or I have more technical pieces, so it's like, oh, I really always wanted to practice using earth tones or certain techniques, and how do I go about doing that. So yeah, if that's something that you guys, I just didn't think that you guys would be interested in. I'll most likely put in on my Instagram or in the future when I make a Patreon, but I most likely won't do that until we hit 50 followers just because like I've been wanting to at least hit that goal because that's a goal that I kind of set up like 2 months ago. So we're probably gonna do once we get to like 50 followers and we have more of a cohesive like group together, just because I feel like you guys are doing so great and we're kind of like building a little community, which is really nice. And so I want to make sure that I'm attentive to that before opening up um, like individual classes, because I wouldn't want anybody to like feel left out, especially on Patreon. I know it's one of those things like where we're kind of hitting difficult times, so I don't want like there to be a money wall for people who just want to come and then have fun. And for me, I would only want to do that if that's something like where you guys want to do more advanced things, like more technical things where you guys would need my one-on-one attention for specific things and for specific pieces. But if not, then like I'm super happy just like being here and having fun with you guys. So I would never want to put like a money wall for that, because I feel like all of us like we're here to have a good time. But that's really sweet of you guys to ask. All right, so we're just gonna go in for that other layer. I'm wondering if this is like the watercolor pencil that I used on the first stream. Let's see if we can like come in here. I wonder if I like dip it in water. Is that something you do with watercolor pencils? Ooh, that's fun. I think it's pretty nice just because you can add a little bit more depth. I'm just gonna leave that alone. Oh, see, look, that's what I get for not leaving it alone. Why don't I listen to myself? So what I'm gonna do is just kind of try and push it to, so then like where I did damage, but I don't want the damage to be too bad. Oh, I wish I had, well, yeah, usually I get like a Q-tip or something, but I don't have a Q-tip right now. So we're just gonna go ahead and try and dab, dab, dab. And push. Yeah, we're just gonna let that dry and like leave it alone because I done goofed. See, this is where watercolor, like I try not to go from one medium to the other because I forget um like certain things, like how finicky they're. Man, but that watercolor pencil, or is this the, oh no, this is the gouache. I was like, whoa, did this watercolor pencil just, but yeah, that's how pigmented it is. That's crazy. And it dries super fast, like super, super fast. Like I think the watercolor palette, like it did not dry up like in the whole hour that. So what I'm gonna do is, let me see, what do I want to? Are you guys liking the music? I think I want to switch it up a little bit. Also, I'm surprised that the puppies are still sleeping. Maybe dance? I feel like more. Eh, something. I know I haven't updated my playlist in like a couple months, so if you guys have any good music recommendation, I will take it. Especially that we're here in Japan now, and I have no idea what's good on English radio anymore. Just because they kind of play on the radio like top hits from like last year. So, but it's a lot of like local band stuff, which are pretty good. But I think the most recent song that I heard was from Doja Cat, and then that's it. Oh, and then from like, oh my gosh, what was his name? The Call Me by Your Name song, that one that I like too. I just remember some sort of scandal happened. I don't know what the scandal was, but then they like played it on the radio. Maybe I should try like YouTube music. Maybe this is me trying to speed up the drying process, which I know never works, but at least I feel better about myself doing something. So I'm gonna let that dry. It actually looks a little better inked. Probably make this one just cause like I'm looking at it, and I guess cause I like the way like the line where. Oh no, this happens too sometimes. Like a little bit of paint gets on, so you can just. Yeah, so I'll probably go in. Oops, sorry. I have like a wire running here. It like hits the mic sometimes. Okay, guys. Oh no, we're hitting an hour. So I mean, I think we can like outline this really quick. I think we can do it because, oh no, it runs out sometimes. I just gotta like shake it out. But I did want to do more of the gouache because especially today's like the third day. Just wanted to wait for it to dry a little bit more. Alrighty guys, let's see. Let's try this out. Wow, it dries really fast. Oh my gosh. Like super fast. The good thing is it does get reactivated by water. So that's good. So I'm just going in, putting down more color. So then I do see that it leaves white spots. It could be just because of the paper, but also with the more pigment it has and the more water you add, it actually thins out. So instead of it being lighter, like um, like the color itself spreads. So kind of like with watercolor, where it just becomes more transparent. So what I'm noticing is that there's more white spots, so we're just gonna like go ahead and fill that in. And which is perfect because I needed to like kind of make all this the same direction. Um, it is different from jelly gouache because jelly gouache it kind of dried um, like no matter how much color I added to it, it dried with none of like the brush strokes, but with acrylic gouache, I'm noticing the brush strokes. Now, what I read was is that it would dry opaque, so it could be that it's just the paper that makes it behave that way. So when we use watercolor paper, it'll behave differently. So because I've kind of already made the decision that I'm going to use jelly gouache for my practice and then acrylic gouache for my paintings I already used acrylic gouache. I already used jelly gouache on watercolor paper and I was pretty happy. So next stream will be most likely thumbnailing my new piece with jelly gouache and then going ahead and working on it on watercolor paper. So I gotta plot more of the colors. It's funny because I already plotted the colors, but not with jelly gouache. So I did it, I think, with Posca pens. So those paint marker pens, which is great because I have like the colors and everything in mind, but the background is a mystery to me. So it'll be a surprise. I love surprises, especially when it comes to painting. Not stressful in any way. Mm, like, what do I charge for? I mean, I would feel more comfortable at least. I don't like putting prices at least per, um, like for specific actions, probably just because I would have to see kind of like what you would want to work on. Because what I would hate is to charge you for like an hour and then it's like something that we can work on in like half an hour. So if you want to message me for specific questions or to like work on specific things, that's perfectly fine. But probably not until I pull up my Patreon and like actually do um, like specific tiers. So then you can pick, because I would hate to like charge you for something that, um, like let's say for the student that I have currently, I charge her a specific thing, but it's because I've worked with her before and the mom and I like have discussed this over a period of a month that I've like already taught her and we were following a specific curriculum. So I feel more comfortable charging her at a set price. But depending on your needs and what level you are and how I can help you, that's the biggest thing of how I can help you. I wouldn't want to like charge you an X amount, if that's not where you would want my services, if that makes sense. So if you want, you can definitely message me and then we can discuss it from there, because I won't, if you're willing to wait in a month or 2 months, depending on when we reach our goal, I'd be okay. Yeah, just let me know, and because I would love to help you guys and I would love to, but it's true. I think because I've seen that happen where a lot of the times students or potential students would come to me asking for classes, and then um, I would have an hour out, and we would either meet at a cafe, or but a lot of the times it was something like where um, it was practices with, let's say, anatomy or color, things like that. And I would teach them specific theories and then we would put them in practice. But a lot of the times it was, I would hate to charge you for an hour and it's something that um, we can just work on together. And so, yeah, I'll most likely make a tier and then have like kind of pre-made lessons. And then if you want to work on specific ones, then we can do it in intervals of half an hour to an hour. Yeah. And also to keep in mind of our time zones. So then we can meet up at a time that's most convenient for you. And then with the supplies that you have, because I would bring my own supplies and then my students would practice with my supplies that I would bring, or theirs, depending on if they already had. But I wouldn't want to give you homework and assignments and things like that, if especially which is better with like digital art. So digital art, it's kind of like, especially that there's programs available that are free. So I'll be more than happy to help with specific pieces that way. But when it comes to traditional, but I'm more than happy to carve out some time if that's something that you guys are interested in. Especially, I do have lesson plans and stuff like that from previous years. Oh yeah. No, no, that's why. It's because most of, especially I taught kids, like that was my forte. So for me, a lot of my experience was that. So if it's something that even, I guess, minimum age that I would teach at least for this, well, I would say comfortably, um, five, five, because I've taught younger, but just because of the online aspect, you also have to pay attention to the attention span and the activity. So I would say five, and then beyond five, um, depend. And also, this is very much individualistic of the child. So if it's something like we're in your local area, you have an art class or like a summer camp or stuff like that, like if you want to enroll them and they accept younger than five, it's most likely because they have activity curriculums built in with the art class. So it's not only art, but then they also sprinkle in like outside activities and social. So like that's where I um, would recommend, like kind of in a summer camp environment. So then you're exposing your child to art, and art activities, but also including them in more energetic, dynamic things. because of the attention span. Um, a lot of children, they would see it as a punishment to like, oh, go sit down and, you know, sit down and hold your crayon a certain way. We're going to use this color and that. You know, I think in a lot of ways, like, children should be able to like move around and experiment with art in different ways other than a paintbrush and paper. You know, art can be a lot of different things. And uh, in a summer camp environment, I think it's pretty nice because they'll get that social aspect. And then also, if they express themselves more with sports and stuff, then yeah. But because of the services I offered, there's no choice but to like sit down and look at a computer and hear my voice. And I'm not even physically there on top of it. Um, like I would say like 5 years old, and then if um only at like at half an hour, never an hour, just because that's too long. And I always put it in my curriculum to put in breaks in between. So it's kind of like I work at 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So we're working on something and then we take a little bit of a break and then we do something like a fun activity like Simon Says or like word games or something like that and then get back into art or something like that. Um, because I've found that going straight into uh, just being like, oh yeah, we're going to start and finish the project all in one day, there's going to be days where kids don't want to and you know they want to be outside and or they really miss their parents and um, online it's a lot trickier because you're physically not there. So um, a lot of the techniques like as pencil holding, um, like brush strokes, you're not physically there to like show them. So the way that you teach art completely changes. So it's not impossible, it's just that you have to like be aware of those things. So that's what I recommend, at least for anybody who's teaching online, especially with young kids. My hat's off to you because it's a hard landscape now. It was hard before, but it's a lot more. Well, I wouldn't even say little. I'd say a lot more difficult. Um, so yeah, that's what I say. I've kind of established a routine with the mom and the daughter. So it's kind of like the way that we take our class. It's kind of like a supplement to like help her with like her reading and other stuff. So it's just because like I've taught her before and we're in a good place. But just be careful when it comes to your children and online stuff, just because I would hate to hear or like where it's kind of like where art is like a punishment, like where it's like, here, take this paintbrush and, you know, oh, hold it like this, do it like that, blah, 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 you know. Because it happens, it happens. Like, anytime I take on a student, um, it's with the intention of, like, okay, what are your goals? What is it that you would want out of this class? And sometimes it's just, I've even had um, adults come to me and be like, you know what, I just want a place where, because I used to work at a studio, um, and I taught both kids classes and then group classes later. And there's just some people that they just want a place to escape and just do whatever. And, you know, honestly, I gave them their space. It's like, hey, what kind of week are you having? And okay, here's the stuff, and I'll be in the corner if you need me. And sometimes I would feel guilty because I was like, oh man, am I, you know, being a good teacher? Am I, you know, supportive? But sometimes people just want that time, you know, and sometimes that's just as important as, you know, telling them what to do, which I feel I've had those days too, where it's just like, you know what, even if my mushroom is crooked and yeah, the lines are blurry, but you know what, I I needed like 5 minutes to myself. Like, and I totally get that. So, depending on the kind of student that you are and your needs, I just want to be attentive to that, you know? And I would hate to be like taking your money and then not providing you with what it is that you need. But yeah, definitely at least for my courses or anything like that, as far as my kiddo ones, minimum age of 5, and then with in the first, also for those who would probably be interested in doing something like this, make sure the first 3 classes, because I learned this from experience, the first 3 classes are with parental supervision because that way it kind of establishes um, kind of what the service that you're providing and also the expectation because I did not have this because it was kind of like the company that I worked with at that time didn't have that as a requirement. So I kind of was like, oh, well, um, then we're okay. Like you know, what happens happens. And it's kind of where the child and then the parent have 2 very different ideas of what it is that they want from the class. So it's good to get the parents on board and then where they understand what you're doing and then what you want to work on with the child and if there's any communication issues that you iron that out right away because um, it can if for example you go to I remember this happened with one of my 8-year-old students where I was under the assumption that, when they signed up for my course, it was for, uh, it's kind of like a supplement of art and then also creative writing. So what I understood was that it was kind of, the child was there to um, work on both those skills um, to kind of like help out one, like that there was no like requirement of like, oh, okay, like we have to do this one thing over the other. It was kind of like I saw that the child was kind of leaning towards more the art, so we leaned heavily on the art, and then the creative writing kind of took a little bit of a backseat. So for I want to say the first 15 minutes every session, they loved doing sketches and characters and creating their sketches and stuff. And then we would leave the last couple of minutes to writing with the characters that they made. But after the first two, like the first, yeah, like after the first 2 sessions, the mom came to me and said, "Well, I don't see much of the writing part, and the teacher told commented that their writing hasn't improved." And I was like, "Oh no, I didn't." Like there wasn't that conversation, so I didn't even know that was a thing. So I quickly like kind of changed the curriculum around and like adjusted it, and then thankfully we got kind of all on the same page and it worked out. So sometimes it's if you're gonna teach out there, make sure to get all of the information that you can, and then that everyone's on board and happy. Because there were some parents I worked with that literally it did not matter. They just wanted their children to be in something productive and fun. And, as long as they were happy, as the kids were happy and having a good time, the parents were good. But then there's others that they wanted it to be more of an educational route. And that's where their priority was. So they wanted scores to be up and teachers to be happy and that something was kind of being done even behaviorally sometimes. So we talked about coping mechanisms or things that they could do at the house that could help. And so even sometimes, asking the teacher, getting people on board with what you're doing and being as transparent as possible. As a teacher, transparency is very, very important. Like I can tell you definitely we can talk about that next stream. Um, my my horror stories when it came to, oh my gosh. We did. I thankfully I have not gotten like very scary parents, but I have gotten some very dramatic ones. So, that's definitely something I can share with you guys. I also had some of you guys ask me about what it's like teaching in Japan, kind of like my experiences with teaching abroad and my recommendations. We can definitely, I'll probably put a poll um, on Instagram to see which one you guys would want to talk about first, since uh, in the streams we're going to be leaning towards working on these different projects. So at least it'll give us a good topic to kind of talk about and discuss. Because ooh, have I got stories? Especially I used to work at I've kind of worked everywhere. Um, I used to work at a children's museum too, and it was funny working from. So it was kind of like a school built into the museum at the same time, but I worked at the museum first, and it's so funny. Like you really get to see uh, every type of, especially I would give tours to schools. So for me, it was actually other teachers that were a bit on the crazier side when it came to those school tours. Oh my gosh, like my favorite was like when one of the teachers like would actually lift their students up onto the statues and take pictures of them, and they broke one of the statues, and when we asked the school to like pay for the damage, they kind of said, "Oh, we don't know, like, you know, how this could happen and, blah blah blah." It's like, "No, this, it's just kids being kids." And it's hilarious because then afterwards we use the same photo that she took as evidence. So in the cameras, like, cuz there are like CTV like cameras everywhere. So like security cameras, and like you could literally see her coaxing and telling your students to go. Oh my gosh. So yeah, guys, don't make $3,000 mistakes like that. That was a $3,000 mistake that I cannot imagine having. After just, and what's hilarious is like they were hardly in the building for more than half an hour. These tours are at least like give or take 45 minutes, including lunch. So I can't imagine being in a building for less than 45 minutes and causing a $3,000 damage. Oh my gosh. It's like stuff like that I'm just like, why? Okay, guys, I am sorry to say that I gotta go. I gotta go run some errands, but thank you guys so much. I'm gonna actually like finish up this piece, and then post it on Instagram. Kind of see what you guys think of it. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'll probably most likely even post the notes. I know I had some people ask me that I kind of like flipped through these notes kind of quickly on the first stream. So what I can do is take a picture of these notes. Mostly not all this because this is just like my stuff, but I'll take a picture of the swatches. So then, if you guys would want to reference it in your own work, um, last stream's homework was to experiment kind of with different mediums. So my challenge for you today is to actually go and draw thumbnails. So these are like smaller versions of your work, and draw them 3 times. And then out of those three, so kind of doing dynamic poses or drawing things at a different angle 3 times. So the same thing 3 times. And then out of that one, kind of take a mental note to see if it makes a difference, if you got it right the first time, if it's something that like kind of know your feelings and stuff. One of you guys were so sweet that you actually like sent me your homework. You guys don't have to do that. This is kind of more of like a little art exercises that you can do, but I'm more than happy to like I love seeing you guys' work, and if it's something that you guys want me to share your art also, I can do it on my Instagram. Just let me know if you want it on my stories or my post or both. I'll be happy to share that and share your work, especially like the practices. The specific person didn't want me to share it, even though I offered it, so I'll leave them anonymous. But you guys don't have to like share it, but I'm always super happy to see you guys' stuff. It always makes me really happy to see that you guys are trying out new things. So if you guys want to try out this homework of just drawing what you want to draw, it's completely up to you. 3 different times, and then kind of give your thoughts of like if it helped, if you got it right the first time, if you kind of saw it a little cumbersome, but it just like small versions, and then you can work on a larger version or a finished version. I found that it's kind of a good warm up, especially when I'm not sure about the concept or the placement. I feel like I got it kind of better on my third one. So just let me know if it's just me, if it's something that you guys would want to use in your practices before. I kind of love to hear you guys' feedback. And also, it doesn't have to be traditionally, it can also be digitally if it's something like where you guys use whatever medium, MS Paint, GIMP. Or you guys are riding on the fire alpaca train like me, I'm more than happy to take a gander. And as always, I always love having you guys on here and asking so many amazing questions. I always feel very honored to hop on here and laugh with you guys and go down memory lane. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you soon. Please stay safe. And I'll see you on Monday where we're going to kind of continue our gouache journey together. And probably on Wednesday, we'll hop on to traditional or to digital art, depending on what you guys vote for. Just keep an eye on my stories. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, it's not like a shameless plug, it's just like where I announce a lot of my kind of ideas for the stream and stuff, and I have you guys vote on it. So if it's something that you want to keep up with, or just to message me easier, you can go follow me on Instagram at Haunted Goose, same as on my Twitch. Thank you guys also for following me. For I know I have like a couple of new followers. Thank you guys so much. You really didn't have to. It's very sweet that you guys followed me on here to keep up with the chaos. And yeah, guys, so I'll see you next week. Stay safe over the weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.